Then she went on to work with brands such as Limeroad and Fashion and You, followed by a 4-year long stint building the community for LBB India. It was during her pregnancy in 2021 when she started consulting for brands to build their communities. Some of these brands are Kids Stop Press, Cool Kanya, Herky, Dabble, Play Art, Azza, Wicked Good, and many more. She started Brand Fueler along with her partners in October 2023 and curated high-end experience for a niche community of creators at multiple cool venues in Delhi, NCR. As part of Brand Fueler portfolio, they have curated events for brands such as Raw Pressy, Pilgrim, Nua, Shuffling, John Distilleries, Cambrica Rum, Fratelli Wines, and more. And they are on their way to scale these events at least 16 each month. So that speaks a lot about you and your work, Megha, and the experience you have gained out of this. So make the best use of it today here, and please guide our candidates here. Over
Absolutely.
to you.
Absolutely. Avneet, I hope you are sharing the screen.
So for now, my colleague Swati is here. She will be sharing, and I will be taking it over very soon, Megha.
Perfect. All right. Great.
Good morning,
Swati, you
Megha.
can please start sharing the screen when Megha tells you to.
Sure.
I'm ready. We can start now.
Okay, then you can share. Swati, you can please share.
Sure.
Yes. All right. First off, thank you so much, everyone, for joining. Really good to have you all here. And Meet's already given you a little bit of a lowdown on my career, the work that I've done so far, the kind of work that I'm doing now as co-founder Brand Fueler. But I'm going to still take you through exactly what's led me here and why we're all here. We're here to build communities, to learn how to build communities. And that is definitely not something that happens just over a session, but this is going to really help you understand how I took a headstand on this and how we got from where we were to where we are today. We're going to be talking about building, growing, retaining, and monetizing communities today. That's a lot, but I hope that you all understand as much as possible, and please feel free to button it anytime that you feel that you want anything clarified. Let's go on to the next one, Swati. Oh, wow. So Pooja says she's part of the Google Women Tech Makers community. So I'm pretty sure that you will have a little bit of an idea.
Yeah.
Especially respect for people building communities. It's a very, very labor-intensive task. But starting off with agenda, it is very simple. To build a community, it is important for us to understand who is our champion. And when I say champion, I mean who is going to be the ideal community member for us. So that's what we're going to do. How do we identify a champion? How do we build a champion tribe? So we found one champion, that's great, but how do we ensure that we have more of such people? And it is only when these like-minded people come together that you're able to do a good job of building a community. We look at our existent tribe. What does it look like? Where is the hassle? What is stopping us from retaining members? How do we tackle the hassle? How do we create incentives? How do we make sure that our community sticks? And let's enter the relevant tribes that our community brings forth with itself. This all might seem very just on top of the head and very confusing at this point, but we'll get into detail very soon. Let's go on to the next one, Swati. Yes, so like Avneet mentioned, that she's given you a little bit of a lowdown about what I've done professionally, but I will still take you through exactly how my career has flown from where it was in the beginning. I basically am a design student. I did my master's from NIFT Mumbai, and I joined Roposo. Roposo at that point was a 15-people organization, and it was literally just starting out, and it was on its way to become a fashion recommendation platform, and that's how I joined Roposo. I wanted to make a space inspiring fashion, but then at Roposo is where I actually started getting a sense of community. That is where we started building out, talking to regular people, bringing them into the picture, and that's where the whole community seed set in. Post Roposo, I spent about a year and a half at Roposo, and I decided that I want to do more in social media in order to understand social media more professionally, because at Rocoso, it was all on the brink. We were a very, very unique, a very small startup at that point. So we were doing things that were coming to our mind and we were doing well. We were definitely doing a good job. Yeah. But at the same time, I wanted to work with a bigger organization to get a sense of how to organize work, how to track numbers. So that's why I joined Fashion and You. And then I joined LimeRoad. My next stint was with LimeRoad. I joined them as their influencer marketing manager. But then, of course, that also led me into brand alliances because it all went very hand in hand. Following which, I got the one stint that I am most grateful for. I led the community for Little Black Book. This was between 2017 and 2022. Practically by the time we were hit by COVID, and LBB dealt entirely with places and services. So by around 21, 22 is also when I conceived. I also work with Mom and Pop, which is a Titan Capital venture, which did not last very long because just 8 months into my stint at Mom and Pop as their head of brand, I had conceived my daughter, and that is when I decided to take a break from full-time roles and started freelancing and consulting. My plan was to just keep that as a backup and then go back into full-time roles as soon as my daughter is old enough, but that never happened because great things happened when I started freelancing and consulting. And then I never thought that I'm going to become an entrepreneur, but I did, because that's the direction that career took. So yeah, we can go on to the next slide, Swati. Yeah, to the next one. Okay. Identifying your champion, like I said, that's the first thing that we're going to deal with. Understanding who is the right person for your community is actually your biggest battle. What is the kind of people that you want on your community? To give you a simple example, you might think that your community is a women's only community, and let's just say you deal with a brand like that deals with menstrual wellness. You will be surprised that despite the fact that it is very simple, every woman can be a part of your community. There'll be very few who will be open to talking publicly about menstrual health or about periods or about period pain. They wouldn't even want to listen, right? So a lot of women would just say that, listen, we don't talk about all this, so let's just back off and let's not discuss these conversations anymore. Where is when your filter comes in that we need people who are open to talking about things. While my product is for everyone, if I want to build a community, I need to have people who are willing to be vocal and who are willing to interact with each other and have conversations around this topic. This was just an example for you to understand that identifying a champion is not as simple as if I have a women's community, any woman can fit into it. It gets a little more complex than that. So I'm going to take you through how that happens. Let's go on to the next slide, Swati. All right. Now, what is the regular definition of a community? I'm pretty sure everyone understands that a community is what? Multiple people coming together. Even professionally, that is exactly what it is. It is a group of people who have something in common. And what is our job as community builders is that to find these people and find reasons for them to stick around and speak for the brand and speak in favor of the brand. Now, that's as simple a definition for community as there is. Now, what is your agenda to build a community? You start with multiple things when you think, I want to build a community. Different brands have different agendas. Some people would say, I want a community because I want people talking about my brand so that I can build word of mouth. Some would say, I want loyalty. And that will come if people have a reason to stick around with me. And if I give them and offer them a topic that they genuinely care about. Some just want traffic and engagement on their platform. They want people to talk. They want their followers to follow, and they want more and more people to come onto their platform. Some people want user-generated content. That's also a very, very solid incentive of running a community, that you have people creating content for you, be it on social media, be it on your platform. So that can be one of the reasons that you want to build a community. And then the final thing is that you want to earn through the community. Now, it is not necessary that you have to pick and choose one of these reasons. For a lot of people, it could be either one of these reasons. It could be a couple of these reasons. For example, I could want word of mouth as well as loyalty, or I could want traffic as well as earn through my community. At the same time, it could be all of these as well. So it could be a couple of these reasons, any one of these reasons, or all of them. It completely depends on you. And this is the first thing anybody should be doing when they are looking to build a community. That what is the purpose of my community and what do I want to achieve out of it? Because if that isn't done, managing a community with little idea on what the end goal is can get very chaotic, not only for you to manage things, but also for your community to know what direction you're taking. So that is the basis of how you select your champion and head towards building a community. Let's go on to the next slide, Swati. And if you have any questions, please feel free to ask, guys. Okay. Again, placing these out with a few examples. This is one of the brands that I consulted for. It's called Mackley India. It is a women's and kids brand. It's also started men's wear now, but it basically deals with loungewear, easy to wear clothing, nightwear, basic things, and very comfortable clothing. It's based out of Sri Lanka, but it operates in India. Now, Mackley's agenda was very simple. They wanted UGC and they wanted it off platform. What does it mean when someone says off platform UGC? Off platform UGC is UGC that does not come directly on your website, right? So it will basically be on social media. It would basically be maybe on LinkedIn or on Instagram or on Twitter or on Pinterest. So they wanted off platform UGC. This was Mackley's agenda. I wanted to create seeding for my brand by getting a lot of off platform UGC, ideally on Instagram. So this is what Mackley's content looked like. We would find really cool mom bloggers, and we wouldn't go after your extremely big mom bloggers, even if that mom blogger if that Instagrammer had just about 1,000, 1,500 followers, we are good. As long as her tonality is correct and she matches with the brand's tonality. So this is what we did with Mackley. We would send them clothes and we would get them to create reels. We can go on to the next one, Swati. And then we have
Megha,
yes.
sorry, what is UGC?
Oh, so I'm sorry, my bad. UGC is user-generated content.
Okay, thank you.
Normal people creating content for you, or Instagrammers or bloggers or influencers created content for you. That is user-generated content. Even the reviews that you see on Amazon for a product, that's UGC. So content that's been created by a user or anybody who's not from your organization. That's user-generated content. Now we're coming to Windmill Live. Now, the reason I've put Windmill Live right after Mackley is because Windmill Live and Mackley are similar because they deal with moms and children. But Windmill Live's concept for community was very different. It is a recommendations platform where parents can go and post about products or services that that people have liked for their children. So, for example, there's Pediasure, there's Pseudo Cream, there is a book series called Amma Tells Me, which does really good moral-led stories that are great bedtime stories. So Windmill's funda was very clear. I want moms to come and post on my platform. These are the products or services or people that have done a great job for my child. So it could be anything. It could be a product, it could be a service, it could also be a person. What I mean by a person is it could be someone who's doing great haircuts for little children, right? So their agenda was that they wanted UGC on platform. So this was Windmill's concept. So our job was reaching out to moms, telling them that, listen, we are a user-generated content platform. It'll be great if you would post on our platform. And moms would come together and post about their favorite products. Why they would do that for a brand that is not very known and what they gain from this is what we will come to later during this presentation. Let's go on to the next slide, Swati. Yes, so the beautiful thing about user-generated content on platform is that all of these women were posting on Windmill, but because they posted, they were also sharing those posts on social media. The unfortunate and the fortunate thing about influencers is that they want followers wherever they go. So if they're posting on Windmill, they would want people to even follow them on Windmill, which is why they would post their articles on their Instagram, where they already have quite a few followers, and get people to follow them on Windmill as well. So this was basically how direct traffic came onto Windmill. So these are a few stories and posts that moms posted on their Instagram after they posted their recommendations on Windmill Live. You can go on to the next one, Swati. Yeah. So who exactly comprises of the Windmill community? You are looking at screenshots here of people with 2,000 followers, you have 20,000 followers, you have 6,000 followers, you have 25K. There are also people on the windmill community with 100K followers or a 500K followers. What I'm trying to showcase here is that every kind of mother was on the windmill community. And this, unfortunately, I couldn't find screenshots since I worked with windmill just about 2 years ago. But there were also people, and now they've become a lot bigger, who had just 500 or 600 followers. So the idea was, it does not matter how big or small you are on your social media. You need to be a mother who likes to find great new products for her children, and that qualifies you to be a community member on Windmill. This was what the Windmill community looked like. We can go on to the next slide, Swati. Yes. We've spoken about two brands that dealt with moms and children. Now we're going to widen our horizons a little bit. This is LBB. LBB technically was a discovery platform. Just how Windmill dealt with people, people, services, products. LBB dealt with the same thing, except this did not deal only with mothers and children. This dealt with everything. So if I'm someone who likes to find great new restaurants where I can go and plug my laptop and sit and work throughout the day while sipping on my coffee, I can recommend that restaurant on LBB. If I'm someone who loves to find biryani at the most enclosed spots in Delhi NCR, I could recommend those on LBB. If I'm someone who loves handmade perfumes and candles, and I find a brand that does that, I can recommend it on LBB. LBB basically was a discovery platform where everyone found great recommendations across categories and posted them on the platform. So here you have screenshots of 3 different people who are posting on LBB. We have one person with 2,500 followers. We have another person with 152K followers, and we have a third person with 67.5K followers. Like I said, when you're dealing with a community, it is not so much the follower range that you're looking at, but the tonality, whether that person is the right person for your community or not. This is what I was trying to imply through all 3 slides. That if that person is the category that you're looking for, fits into any category where they have something in common, they are good for your community. So here is the kind of people who are on LBB. We can go on to the next one. I will show you screenshots of these people's profiles on LBB. So you will understand that it doesn't matter. It could be anyone, and they can have profiles on LBB and they can post. The reason I picked these 3 people is because all 3 of them have very different follower ranges outside of LBB, but still had many, many recommendations on the platform. They loved posting, they loved discovering, and they loved getting visibility on the LBB platform about whatever it is that they have found or discovered. So we have Karishma Govil, we have Anuradha Kapoor, and we have Radhika Agarwal. Karishma Govil is a corporate employee. She works at a law firm. A very simple person who likes to take weeks off of work and works from home. So her interviews with organizations are that I am going to not be available for 2 weeks each month because I travel in those 2 months and I work when I'm traveling. So it's a clause that she's put in. So she's actually pretty cool, but she's not a blogger as such. She loves to travel. She loves to find great new places and talk about those. We have Anuradha Kapoor. Anuradha Kapoor is a slightly older lady, and she is a decor creator. She's an interior stylist and an interior decorator, and her recommendations are very, very niche, which is that she is going to talk to you about if she's found a really small shop at some place where you get the most beautiful bamboo wind chimes, and that she knows. Where to find cheap durries for a study, she knows. So she knows the ins and out of all of that. And then we have Radhika Agarwal. If you see her profile, you can see a lot of chola bhaturas and pizzas and pav bhaji. The reason is that she was a through and through food blogger who only dealt with street food. And she did not talk about big restaurants. On the contrary, Karishma only talked about your niche restaurants and cafes, whereas Radhika only spoke about street food. But this place here does the best pav bhaji, so you go here. So this is the kind of difference there was in the kind of people who came onto the platform. The only similarity was all 3 loved to discover. And that was the case with every member on the LBB community. And this is also what helped them bond when they met. We're coming to retention soon. Let's go on to the next slide, Swati. And guys, if anybody has any questions, please ask. I'll be happy to answer them as I go. We can move on to the next slide, Swati.
Ma'am, is it possible to brief little bit because I somehow like my internet connection and now I was not able to join on time. So I was listening this LBB and the previous one from the mid.
You want me to repeat what we did with LBB?
Not LBB, ma'am, but from the starting, what you have discussed, windmill and LBB, except this, any other platform also have you
Yes, so I'll give
discussed?
you a little detail in a nutshell. We discussed Windmill Live and we discussed Macly India. Windmill Live is a children's platform where parents come and post recommendations of their favorite finds for kids. It could be diaper rash creams, it could be Cerelac, it could be your clothing brands to do with kids. And all they wanted was they wanted people to come and recommend these things directly on the Windmill platform. They could create a profile and write articles and recommendations, right? Macly India, on the other hand, did not want on-platform UGC. It just wanted to give its products. Macly dealt with nightwear for children and women. So they just wanted a lot of people to do reels and stories and posts about those products. So we would send them products and a lot of social media noise would be made via them. These were the two different types of communities that we made. And then we talked about LBB, which was on platform and it dealt with everything, not just mothers and children or certain products, but across categories. So I majorly was throwing light upon how a community works. Communities for different brands can mean different things. And these were three different examples of how communities work.
Ma'am, if
Does
you
that
don't mind, can you spell the spelling of the like before windmill? WINDMILL.
Mackly, Mackly.
MACKLY, Matthew. Okay,
Yes.
ma'am.
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
I think
Thank you,
someone
ma'am.
raised their hand. I missed something? No? Okay.
Ma'am, could we go on a slideshow mode so it's bigger for us?
Yeah. So I think you moved
Um,
this on slideshow. Yes, Varsha, please tell me.
Ma'am, so in the beginning, you have explained as in how do we choose our champion. So can you just brief me a bit more about that? As in how do we choose our champion? Let's say if I want to promote my product, or let's say if I want to promote any services. So how do I create the community? How do I select the champions?
You will get a lot of info on this in the future slides. All of those answers will be very, very clear to you. I have kept a good session aside for this. It's actually an important session.
Okay, okay, understood, ma'am. Thank you.
Yes. Okay. Um, we've kind of looked into what Windmill did, what LBB was doing, what Mackley was doing. Um, Another very important question that comes to our mind a lot of times when we are working with communities is what is the kind of content that a creator should create, right? Even if we are, let's say, let's just say we decided we want off-platform community, which is that we want people only to post on Instagram or on social media. How do we decide what is the kind of content that people should be creating? Now, the way in which we decide that is number one, if we want on platform content, are we a discovery platform? Now, if I'm a discovery platform, or for example, if I'm Zomato and people find great restaurants via me, I will obviously be needing on platform content, which is in the form of reviews, right? I need more and more people to write reviews on Zomato. I don't know if anybody is an influencer on Zomato, but Zomato also has its own community of reviewers, those people who post these reviews. Basis how many ever reviews they have posted, they also get benefits, right? For example, Zomato would do like a dinner for people who review a lot at a really cool restaurant or a really cool hotel. So on platform content, for example, is going to be for you if you are a discovery platform, if you want people to find great products via you, right? Windmill, again, is a similar example. LBB was a similar example as well. So in the case of being an on-platform content, in the case of being a discovery platform, you want on-platform content, which is going to be through UGC on-platform. Are we a product or a bunch of products? This is a different case. For example, if you're a Mackley. Now, if a Mackley has a website, Mackley doesn't really care so much about how many reviews are there on that website, on Mackley's official website. However, if Macleay is on Myntra, right, Macleay then will care that there should be reviews on my products, right? So Macleay will care, a product platform will care on another platform if they're listed on a marketplace, that they should have some kind of on-platform UGC. But otherwise, as a brand, Macleay's incentive, Macleay's biggest agenda is to get as many eyeballs as possible. So Macleay is going to go for an off-platform community model, where they are going to get people to make noise about Macleay on Instagram, which is where most of their sales come from, via Instagram marketing, right? What if you're a service? You can't send products if you're a service. You don't really care about on-platform UGC because you're a service. In this situation, it's a different story. For example, if I'm a restaurant and I want a community, I'll give you a very interesting example now. There is, aside from what is mentioned here, there is a restaurant, there is a brewery called Fort City, which is based out of Delhi, and we did an event there last month. Now, Fort City is not a very old brewery. It's possibly just about a couple of years old, but I heard about Fort City from some 8 or 9 of my community members at different occasions. Now, how did that happen? Fort City decided that I make fantastic beers and I am a very chill space where people are going to have the time of their lives. They are going to come enjoy beers. The founders of Fort City also sit and drink beers along with the people who come there. They sit down there, they look at people and they decide, okay, this person seems like someone within the age group of 28 to 35, seems like someone who has a spending capacity and has great taste, which is why they've come to drink brewed beer instead of going and having like a 150 can of Kingfisher. They would look at what their background is while they interact with these people. And then they would retain these people. So, for example, Fort City has built a very solid community of people who keep advertising them. I realized that my community members, there were many people who were also on the Fort City community, which is why they kept speaking to me also about it. And they don't realize it, but Fort City's marketing is that they've created such a solid impact on people they feel are a great fit for their brand, that these people automatically talk about them. And this is not rocket science. If a product is good, people will talk about it. The idea is Fort City, the founders sit at the restaurant, at the venue, interact with great people, with crowd, and they say, okay, fine, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. These people look really chill, and I'm pretty sure that their circles are also going to be great for my brand. I'm going to relax with them. I'm going to offer them a separate discount. I'm going to invite them to an invite-only event that I'm doing at the restaurant. And this way, they created a mark in the minds of these people. And Fort City now is neck to neck with Flow. Flow is another really big restaurant. It's possibly Delhi's biggest brewery. And it is based out of Promenade, which is a very, very posh locality in Delhi. And it does brewed beers. But Flow does not have that impact now. Fort City, on the other hand, has a major impact. If there is a beer lover in Delhi, they know Fort City. If they're a beer lover in Delhi, they may have been to a Flow, but they may not talk about Flow as much as they would about Fort City. So if you're a service, the way in which you deal with this is not that you want content on your platform or on your website, or you don't care about how much is being told about you on Instagram. Then you have to offer that service and make sure that you find the right people and interact with them and engage with them so that you can retain them, and invariably they start speaking about you. It might seem a little complicated, but actually it is a very simple thing that they are doing. This way, they are not having to spend on marketing. They're not running any ads. They're not paying any influencers. They're using normal beer drinkers who come to their restaurant to spread the word about them, and they have done wonders. The reason I went and did an event at Fort City and invited 30 more influencers to that venue is because their regular people who are not influencers and who are on my community told me so much about it that I decided, okay, fine, I'm going to boost it. So they have managed to get an expert to do a marketing activation for them for free, only by doing a fantastic job of retaining their community. That is about it. So that's what you do when you're a service, that you have to find your spokes and give them fantastic service, give them incentives so that they speak well about you. That's it. So these are the content types that are created by a community, and this is how you decide on what I want to do. Do I want just Instagram noise because I have a product and people can only find me via Instagram? Am I a discovery platform? Should I get more and more people to talk about my product on my platform? Or whether I'm a service and should I build a community offline, on ground? So these are the different cases where communities are built. And of course, there are more than this. For example, you have an example of Harley Davidson, or you have an example of Royal Enfield, who have biking rallies. But that is very similar to your third situation, like Fort City. That is not a product, that it is a product, but it is more of an emotion, because biking, the people who like to bike have grown up watching their Terminator movies. They see themselves in a heroic light, which is why that intent and the emotion is played with via these rallies that they do. You just can't sell a bike, because then they'll not be different from a hero, right? But they have built their community on the emotion. This is the different ways in which communities are approached, whether it has to be on platform, off platform, via social media, or on ground. And there are multiple ups and downs to this. There are multiple combinations within this as well. But overall, to put it in a nutshell, these are the three types that we work with. Any questions, anybody? No. Okay, let's move on. Swati? Swati, are you there? Yeah, thank you. Yeah. How do you onboard members into your community? This example that I gave you of Fort City, I've understood I want more and more people to do the talking about me, but how do I onboard these members? What do I do? How I found the people? How do I get them into the community? And how do I even found them? How do I even find them? So these are a few things that also come to your mind when you're building a community. The first thing to do is to set a target. I always do that. It could be different for you, but this is my approach strictly. The first thing that I do is that I decide that if I am building a community, within 1 month, how many people do I want on that community? And that number does not have to be a mad number like a 220,000 or a 30,000. You can start at as low as 30 people. That's it. And always start small and realistic. But I want 30 people on my community. My agenda is I want them to be talking about my brand or about me. Second is make use of your stalking skills. Right now, the day and age that we live in, we're all experts. I have found multiple school friends just on Instagram. I have not seen them in 20 years, but I have managed to find them because we're great with stalking. That's an acquired skill. It's one of the pros of living in the modern world. And that's how you find the right people. To give you an example, if I have to do an event with, the next event that I'm doing on the 14th of September is a Bollywood-based event, where we want 25 women to come together dressed up as one iconic Bollywood celebrity. So someone goes as Tanu from Tanu Weds Manu, another person dresses up as Geet from Jab We Met. The brand that we are partnering with is Mars Cosmetics, because they've launched a range of products called Cinemagic, which is inspired from multiple actresses in Bollywood, right? Now, if I want to do that, the one thing that I do is I would go and search via a hashtag, right? For example, 90s kid, hashtag 90s kid Delhi, or hashtag Bollywood queens, or hashtag Bollywood bubble, right? And the kind of people that I will get, I'm going to sit down, open their profiles and see what are the things that they post about. It is not necessary that just because they've used the hashtag Bollywood bubble somewhere, they only post about Bollywood. But from their profile, you get a sense of what age group these people are. What is their background? A lot of times you realize, okay, this is an army child. She's posting from a far off place with her father who's dressed in a uniform. If she's an army child, there's a good chance that she's into Bollywood, because army kids grow up watching a lot of Bollywood, right? Or she seems like someone who speaks well, and she also dresses very quirky. So these are the things that we look at when we are looking at these profiles, and then we decide on reaching out to them. We closely monitor tonality. We closely monitor language. It is always important to see a few of their reels, see how they are talking, right? So if you're looking for a Bollywood event, it's not necessary that everyone should be speaking in Hindi. There is absolutely no harm if they're also very good speakers, because ultimately the product that you're dealing with, which is Cinemagic, will want people who speak in English, because that's their TG. So you have to look at that as well. Now, imagery of their content. If you are looking to onboard people for a beauty brand, it is important that they have at least a few images where they've taken good pictures of themselves and looks like they understand the basics of beauty. Even if they know how to apply lipstick and kajal the right way, they might be a good fit if they are decent lookers and they would do justice to this. At the same time, we're not going after models. We are going after real people because the brand deals with is targeting real women who are between the age groups of 25 and 35, working professionals, have the spending capacity, independent ladies. So we take all of this into account when we are building out our community. Now, very, very important when you're building a community is no matter how many people you're onboarding, it could be 10, it could be 10,000, doesn't matter. The whole point is that you have to do it very, very meticulously, which is that there have to be sheets in place. You have to have their details out there. So my sheet generally looks like serial number, name, Instagram handle, phone number, a little bio. When I've talked to them, I try to get a little info from them. What are their hobbies? What they like doing? What are their interests? What do they do professionally? All of that information is important because you don't have to keep building your community for every other thing that you do. You will find people from within your community, and you can work with 500 people at multiple places instead of having like a 10,000 big community, not knowing anyone personally. So that's technically what my sheet looks like, that I have all of that information and I keep building into that sheet, depending on which community I'm building. So it's important that you're meticulous and that you're maintaining data with communities because you're talking to multiple people. Now, reach out to your selected members via social media. It's the easiest way to do it. A lot of people, actually, even on my team, there is this one person who came and told me, why don't we run an ad? We were looking to onboard influencers and community members for a certain event. And he said, why don't we run an ad and let people enter their details and join our community? I personally do not like doing that because I feel that when you're building a community, the approach is extremely, extremely personal. When you're running an ad, you are basically looking like someone who's desperate to get entries. Whereas when you're doing it personally, your fail rate is a lot lower. When you're running an ad, you're putting in money, you are seeing people post, come in, enter enter their details. But when you would open that sheet, you will see quality is terrible. And literally everyone who decided, oh, this is an opportunity to go to a free event is going to fill details there. Unless, of course, you've targeted your ad really well, and that also charges a lot more. So I personally, the way I do it, and I also get my team to do things, is that we reach out to people via SM with a really cool message. It doesn't look like an automated AI message. It's a very personal message. For example, hey, Shraddha, I noticed that you are very fond of dogs, and I love dogs too. If you go through my profile, you'd see that I am a thorough pet parent myself. And I'm building a community of pet parents for for a pet brand, for a brand that deals with organic pet food. I feel that you and your doggo are going to be a great fit and could be our brand ambassadors. Why don't you give me your contact? I'd love to speak to you. It'll literally be like starting a conversation rather than, it's like networking, not just, just bombarding people with messages. That's not the way to do community. That possibly is a way to get free leads. That doesn't help with community. You've reached out via SM, set time with each person, dedicate time to directly connect with people. That is very important. I think that the backbone of any community is how much personal investment you've made in it. That is, that how much have you spoken to people? If your personal investment is enough, you do not need to invest monetarily at all. I never pay anybody on the community for anything. What I do is I make sure that I host all of my events on my own so that I can get a chance of meeting my members, interacting with them, bonding with them, and I also get a chance of filtering my community. If I feel that there is someone who's not a good fit, I remove them from my community at the event. So that personal investment in a community is the backbone of building a solid community. That's also what Fort City did, the example that I gave you. We can go on to the next one, Swati. Yes. I think someone was asking me about retention. Yes, Rashmi, please tell me.
Ma'am, it's people think, the consumers I'm talking about, that since most influencers or community people are paid, they take the recommendations with a pinch of salt. So what would you say to someone who's building a brand? How do we tackle that?
First and foremost, I believe that as well. I do not, because I have been in community building for as long as I have, I have had one leg in influencer marketing and one in community building for throughout my career. And I do not believe in influencer marketing anymore, because influencer marketing has come to a stage where literally every other person is an influencer. The quality of content that we're getting from influencer marketing in India is terrible versus how it is abroad. People actually put effort in making content. Here, you will have a truck driver who's an influencer. You will also have a rich kid who's an influencer. People are influencers just because they have fancy cars, right? So that is a major ticking point, because people have realized, brands have realized that if I am going to be spending money just because someone has 100K followers on Instagram, am I getting anything in return? And it's not like influencers are charging any little nowadays. You will find people, I've actually dealt with people, Jinka, on the first day I've spoken to them, they have some 5,000 followers. On the 30th day, they have 100K followers. So followers are getting bought left, right, and center. So influencer marketing has become extremely chaotic and unreliable. And I have come as a consumer also. We've all come into that zone now. I'm speaking specifically for myself, but I've also gained this insight from a lot of the brands that I work with, that we've all come to a point now where when we see an influencer talking about a product, we're like, this person's been paid. This is not authentic, right? So it's gone back to that time when Shah Rukh Khan used to do your Thanda Thanda Cool Cool powder ads. But that was for the masses. For the masses, Shah Rukh Khan was a hero. So if he's doing an ad, okay, fine, I'm going to buy it. And that product was also aiming to the masses. But now we've come to a point where big influencers at the at the brink of getting at the mention of getting money would post about anything. And the world is not stupid. They've also realized it, which is why it is important to take a community route. The reason I am telling you from the word go that we need to find, it doesn't matter how many followers people have. We'll have to see whether they are true to your brand's tonality to bring them on board. Whether they have more followers or not is incidental. If someone has 100K followers, that's an incident. Okay. There's somebody with 100K followers. They are willing to be a part of my community. I'm happy to have him. If that person isn't on my community, doesn't make a difference to me. I'm happy with my regular community. It is tonality that matters. When these people do the talking for you, it actually impacts. And talking doesn't always have to be only content on social media. So if you're talking about influencers, even if you want to bring influencers on board, only look at how authentic their follower range is, how engaged their people are, and what is it that they're talking about. You will not be surprised. There are so many pet influencers. They will do a reel today on maybe like a brand which does home cooked meals for dogs. The next week, they're going to be doing a reel about pedigree, right? Which is not healthy for dogs. So there is no moral responsibility for 99% of people who claim to be influencers today, right? Which is why a brand has to be extra conscious of whom they are bringing on board. So it's about people. It doesn't matter how many followers, whether they have more followers or not is incidental entirely. So that's how it is, which is why, why should anyone interact with you? When I speak about this, a common question is most times brands pay influencers first. A lot of times what happens is if I'm a new brand, I don't come with any real-time experience in working with a corporate. For example, my father's funded a business for me, and I have to do everything from scratch. My immediate action would be, okay, I have to make a lot of noise about the brand. How do I do this quickly? I will just directly go to influencers, pay them, and tell them, okay, please make reels about me, right? And then, then utilize it to create credibility and entice regular members to join. Very simple. See, if I have someone like Anushka Sharma, who is my influencer, okay, then it makes sense for me to pay that much because I have built a value for my brand, right? That there's a known face with my brand. People will automatically think that I am a well-settled, well-to-do brand. And Anushka Sharma also is not silly. She is going to do her research before she ties up with someone, correct? The problem with this approach is that when you are going after the influencers first and not building a community first, you are setting a foundation that is based upon paying to speak about you, right? That I have decided I am going to get 10 influencers with 100K plus followers to do reels for me. My budget for this is maybe 3 lakhs. I'm going to spend this month on month, and influencers will make noise about you. You are getting noise. That's fine. There are views, there are everything, even if everything is going well, and there are a lot of views. How long are you going to keep shelling money out and keep paying to be spoken about? This is the biggest problem, which is why your agenda should not be this. Your how to tackle this is that you should go after regular quality members. If I am Slurp Farm, actually, I will come to that example. So we'll wait till then. But this is the crux of it, that don't first build your community. Then you think whether you want to get influencers, celebrities on board or not. But get the word out via the real people or via people whose tonality matches yours and who fit your brand well. Now, scaling a community is a function of adding more members who find value in your platform, right? And who would wish to stay rather than spiking your graph with a one-time influencer activation. You find a spike in the graph. How does a successful business model run? Doesn't run like this, right? That you don't keep going up and down like that, because that doesn't make sense. And every time if you're going up, you need to put money out there. Then there's something terribly wrong. It's better if your business model moves like this. Literally, if this is the graph, right? Even if you're growing by 0.5% month on month, you're doing well. But if this is the graph of your business, then there is something terribly wrong and you need to fix it. Now, this will happen if you are going to go on paying influencers for a spike in your graph and then see a fall again, then a spike again payment, and then a fall again. No, makes no sense. But with communities, you start with, let's say, 30 people. Then you make that a 45 people. Then you make that a 55 people. There will be drop-offs as well. So maybe your 45 will not be a 45 in the second month, it will be a 40. There'll be 5 people who've dropped off. Then it'll go to a 50. Maybe 5 more people have dropped off. But there is a consistent growth and it moves in the right direction. So that is what happens when you are dealing with quality members without caring about how many followers they have to do the talking about you. So create influencers within your community. And instead of blindly paying influencers for other platforms. This is also very important. If I would bring, for example, this is a very good example. Herky right now, if I am someone who's worked extensively in community building, so they would bring me to do a session so that other people can learn about community building. Whereas there are always options where you could go to maybe the founder of Quora or the founder of LinkedIn. The whole point is that their acumen right now, since their brands are so old, is that they have been on the top for a very, very long time. So they understand building businesses, but not the ins and outs of what goes out in the current scenario of community, because they have junior resources doing it for them, right? So building influencers within your system is very important. Instead of giving already big so-called influencers attention on your business and also paying them, find regular people who won't be paying you, whom you will not be paying. They will be happy to be a part of your platform and they will do a great job for you because they relate more with the brand, right? So yes, now that we were speaking of Quora, I'll give you an example of how Quora did it. Quora never promoted itself on Instagram or on Facebook. It's a social media platform on its own, and it's a UGC platform. So what did Quora do? Does anybody know about Sean Kernan? Anyone heard this name? No, I doubt it. You need to be like a very, very active follower of Quora to know who Sean Kernan is.
Someone asked some doubts in that. They have the topic can be any like regarding philosophy, science, literature, books, travel, and people put their opinions on Quora. Yeah.
Yes. So Quora, we all know. Quora is a social media platform and there people post recommendations. It could be anything. There are questions that are asked and people who like to answer questions and write are writing. Now, let's go on to the next one, Swati. Quora, when it started building its community, they realized that there's this guy called Sean Kernan. If you would go to his profile on Quora, he is called Son of Quora. Just look at his follower number and look at the number of people he's following. He's just following 27. This is an old screenshot, might have increased now, but this is Sean Kernan. Now, what did Quora do? Sean Kernan is a regular guy. He was not on Instagram. He was not an influencer or anything. Quora just kept its eyes open that there are certain people who are doing fantastic answers on Quora. They are giving really good answers. People are loving what they are saying. So I am going to make these people stars on my platform. So Quora made Sean Kernan a celebrity by increasing their views, by increasing their visibility on the Quora platform, by giving him a separate podcast on Quora, right? And Sean Kernan became an influencer on Quora. if you go on Quora and follow him, if you would go through his profile, you would see that he talks about literally everything under the sky, and he's a very, very good orator. So that is what you need to do, that you need to find regular people who have the potential of becoming big, right? And then make them celebrities on your platform. You could always go after, Quora's never paid a Kim Kardashian to come and write because they know she's not going to make sense, but they wouldn't do that with a Shashi Tharoor either. They are going to go after normal people and find potential and then make them influencers. So he's very popular amongst Korans, and he does a lot of talking. He does a lot of podcasts. He's very interested in talking about philosophy, about science, about parenting. Extremely intelligent and fun person. And Quora realized that and decided, I'm going to make this person an influencer on my platform. This way, this person's never going to leave me. He has never cared to become an influencer on Instagram. But now, if he goes on Instagram and creates a profile, maybe he has already, his Quora followers will follow him there as well. So Instagram also is a place where he'll become an influencer because Quora made him an influencer on Quora. So that's how it should run, that you should find people with potential within your community and give them visibility. He is going to be, he calls himself son of Quora. The reason is Quora made him an influencer, and he is so connected with Quora now that he will never leave. Yeah, so that is how communities work when they are operated right. We can go on to the next slide, Swati.
Thank you, ma'am.
You're most welcome. Okay, how do you grow your community? What is the process breakdown? The first is that you've identifying your member, right? You have to start small. This we have covered. Go after multiple regular creators or engagers and onboard them instead of going after your big shots. Create incentives for your community members. Retention is the key. This is what makes or breaks you, right? So how do you do this? Once you've onboarded them, you can't just call them, tell them that, I want you to be a part of the community, and then you can't have radio silence for 2 months. You need to do something quickly to make them feel like, okay, there is action happening here. This is something cool. I want to be a part of this. The third is leverage communities for their existing members. So if you have someone on your, okay, an example of this is, let's just say I am the member of a community, let's say a pets community, because I have 2 cats. Now, there is, within my friend circle, I have at least 10 or 15 people who also are pet parents. If not cats, they have dogs, right? That always happens. If I am a 33-year-old, there are multiple friends of mine who also are my age. So they would possibly be toddler parents, or they would be on their way of having a child, or they would be newlyweds, or they would be people with 4 or 5-year-old children, correct? So this is the beauty of it. Now, so if a brand, let's just say that deals with kids, toddlers products, like a pseudo cream or any one of these, like a Nestle Cerelac comes to me and tells me, why don't you start posting about me? Or why don't you recommend me to your followers? Even if I have 300 followers, the relevant followers are on my community are a lot more for them, right? So and everyone knows that there are certain categories that spread only via word of mouth. Parents, for example, moms, when they're so connected, every time that there is a problem with their child, they're going to ask another mother who has an older kid, yeah, what did you do in the situation? Or do you know a pediatrician who's great? So that is how you leverage the communities of your existing community. You know that because you've picked people from the right tonality and the right model, these people will have the right people in their circles. And that way you have a very clearly targeted reach via your community, right? So leveraging communities of your existing members is also something that you will need to learn how to do when you're building a community in order for it to function efficiently. Can go on to the next slide, Swati. Yes, let's talk about growth and retention first. We'll have we missed a slide, Swati? No, we haven't. Okay, great. No, my bad. Sorry. Growth and retention. How do we get our community to stay with us and build on? You found your member. You've onboarded your member. Now, what do you do when I say action? How do you not have that radio silence? So I'll give you an example of this. But first, we're going to do a quick activity. There are these 2 women on the screen. Now, can anybody point out 2 similarities in these 2 women? Please feel free to point out on anything. You can say that.
Color or the hairstyle?
Sorry?
The dress color or the hairstyle?
Okay. Yes. And
And maybe
I
the
think they both
furniture,
are
what she's going
interested.
trying to open,
I'm sorry.
the furniture or what is something
Home
she's
decor,
holding
home
in
decor.
one package.
Yes.
I think they both love home decor.
Okay. Great. Awesome. Okay. Yeah. So that's what it is. Now, if you would look at the differences, can someone point out on differences?
The age,
Yeah. The age.
So one
um,
lady on the left is more interested in maybe traditional kind of decor, and on the right it's more of a like
Modern.
modern. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So you're all right. Everything that you said is spot on. These are two women, both interior stylists, and very, very fond of decor. Differences is that Shiki, the woman on the right, she's, of course, now she's like a 35-year-old. I think this picture is from when she was about 28. And Anuradha on the left is about 55 in this image. She must be about 60 now. Both of them interior decorators, both of them interior stylists, and both have very different styles of decor. One very clearly is modern chic, which is Shiki. Anuradha has a more ethnic sense of decor. She likes traditional decor a lot more. Now, why I have shown you these pictures is because both of these women, despite their differences, were on the community because of their similarity, which is that they were on a decor community. Now, how did this being on the community, how did we retain people? Let's go to the next slide, Swati, so that I can throw a little light on what I'm trying to explain here. Okay, yeah, that's it, that's it. Anuradha and Mehwa Shiki, both interior stylists who met each other via an event on LBB. Okay. Now, what happened is they became really good friends when they met because of their shared passion for decor. They not only became friends, they also started partnering with each other regularly. For example, because their styles were so different. Every time Shiki would get a request to set up a home where she has to do the living room in the style of the parents of the house, like older people. She would reach out to Anuradha and say, this particular client, the entire house has to be done in a modern way, but the living room has to be traditional. So can you come on board and we can work on a shared commission basis. The same thing Anuradha would do. Every time she would go and she had like a teenager's room to be done, or if she had like a young person's room, or even if she had a newly married couple's room to be done, she would partner with Shiki for that. Like, you come, take this, and I'm going to share that split with you. Now, this is an example of two people who did not know each other, would possibly not hang out with each other if it was not for LBB, because they're different age groups. They met because of their shared interest and benefited out of being a part of LBB's community, not only because they were meeting on the community event, but also because work-wise they got a chance to work with each other, do better in life. Right? Now, the other example that we have here, these two women that we have here, can anybody tell me what differences you see in these two ladies? Anyone can go. Can you hear me, guys?
Yeah, there is not much in the pictures to kind of differentiate, I feel.
I think the one on the right likes to smile with her teeth on, and the other she's smiling in a very plain and simple way.
And what about similarities?
Same hair style.
They both are basically also clicking the picture from their left hand. Like they are going for the same similar pro.
Okay. Yes, so you're right. As far as differences are concerned, there are not many. You can't see a lot in the picture because both of them are really, really fast friends and they're the same age group and both of them love to travel, right? And the reason these two pictures are here is because Karishma Govil is the girl on the left, the one in the white t-shirt. I onboarded her onto the community, and the woman on the right is Tanvi, a very close friend of hers. The difference is that they're both corporate employees, But Tanvi also works as a mental coach. And how Tanvi came into my community is because Karishma came to one of these events that we were doing. She loved the event and she really enjoyed being a part of the community. And so she brought Tanvi along with her, who is literally like Karishma. So basically, the right tonality for LBB. And Tanvi also came into our community through Karishma. So I'm talking about two scenarios here. We can go on to the next slide, Swati. The two scenarios that we're talking about is scenario one, where different people, different age groups, different everything, but one similarity come together and benefit via being on the community. Scenario two, where one person who's already on the community brings their friends into the community. Now, when this equilibrium is achieved within a community, your community runs on autopilot. That you do not have to onboard after a point. Your community does the job on its own. All you have to do is work on solid retention. That's it. Once you're able to retain people well, community runs on auto mode. We can move on to the next slide, Swati. I hope this was understandable. Are there any questions around this? Yeah, great. So here it is. Karishma Govil, a lawyer by profession and a traveler otherwise, was onboarded by us. Eventually, she brought her friend Tanvi, a mindset coach, on board as an influencer. Similarly, we created a cycle where our own members were benefiting from being a part of the community and were bringing their friends and family into the community. This led us entirely to stop onboarding. We stopped onboarding after a point and we started scaling. We scaled 4x within a single year once this equilibrium was achieved, which is that we went from 300 posts a month to 1,200 posts a month within 2019 alone, without actually doing any onboarding. The only thing we did was we did great events. We kept the community highly, highly engaged. Yes, let's go on, move on to the next one, Swati. Now, how did this happen? The engagement. These are glimpses of the events we did. Our job is we need to get these people together and we need to give them a great time. So these were the events that we did, where every month we were doing about 16 events. We were bringing all of our community members together. We were tying up with a restaurant or a hotel to curate a really cool snack spread or a food spread. It was not always snacks and food. There were some times when we would just do experiences, like people will go together and do paintball, or they would go to mystery rooms and solve mysteries together. They would do a cooking session where they'll all cook together and bond while cooking. So ways in which all of our community members could bond with each other. We had to give them a great time. We had to become their partners for great times over the weekends, where all of them met. They loved being a part of the community, and then they just did everything on their own. We had to do nothing except just continuing doing these meetups. We can go on to the next slide, Swati. Yeah, now incentives, like I said, can vary. Like, for example, for LBB, it was comprised of a lot of outgoing people who love to find great new products, places, brands. So it meant that we should get them out for events and get them to partner with each other, not to partner with each other, but to come and have fun at a particular restaurant or a cafe. Hence, the winning factor was also tables, that we would organize tables at really cool restaurants, get these people together, and they would all just enjoy life together. They will have fun, interact with each other. We used to host about 16 each month, which is a lot of events. 16 events, which basically meant with each event, we were getting about 10 to 12 people together. So it was still less. I believe that we needed to do a lot more than that, but it was doing the job. People were happy. They were getting a chance of meeting each other at least once every other month. However, incentives can vary person to person, which is for some people, for a brand like LBB, an event will make a lot of sense. But if it is a brand which deals with, let's say, hockey, this what we're doing is a better incentive, like where you're learning via a community. At the same time, there would also be events where we would do workshops. If there's an art brand, that brand would want to do a painting workshop where they'll possibly make postcards together while sipping on coffee. That could even happen at someone's house. If it is a home chef or a chef brand, they would want to do house parties, or they would want to go to an Airbnb and prepare food for the entire day for about 5 or 10 community members. So you have to be creative and you have to understand what kind of incentive works for your community and come out with ideas that would keep them engaged. If you're doing a good job of creating the right incentives, your community is going to stick to you and also grow on auto mode. That is how it functions. We can move to the next slide, Swati. Yeah. The reason we have this picture here is very evident. We have Sara Ali Khan in two pictures. In one place, she's posing like she's a model. In the other place, she's being just the right normal person that she is. However, not very few people are like Sara Ali Khan. We post 60 best days out of our 365 days on social media to give an impression. That is the unfortunate truth about the life that we live in, right? Nobody's posting about a heartbreak. Nobody's posting about a breakup. Nobody's posting about being fired. Very few people actually go out and say, do that. Everyone's posting about the best time that they are having, about their holidays, about the friends that they are meeting, about the alcohol that they are drinking. Everyone's talking about just good things on social media. That's why social media impacts you the way it does, that it has that negative impact on people because they believe that everyone else is leading a great life, but it's not true. Everyone's just posting about great things that's happening in their life. So this is exactly what your community also wants. This is basic human tendency. They want to be able to showcase the best things that they are doing. Your incentive should be able to give them a reason to do that. It should be validating in some form. Your onboarded community members, they would attend your events. They meet people with similar interests. They post on social media tagging not only the brand, for example, LBB, but also their fellow insiders and community members. Now, their community takes notice. For example, if I am just someone with 30K with 300 followers, and I am going to events every month free of cost, having a great time, I'm taking a +1 and enjoying great food. My friends are going to ask me, Kiri, what are you doing with LBB? Why are you going for these free events? I would also want to be a part of this, right? And then I am going to bring my friends into the community because that's how it works. That okay, if you want to be a part of this, this is how it works. I'm going to connect you with someone on LBB, and they are going to onboard you. So this is how your community grows on auto. Now, insider communities reach out to them or us. What happens a lot of times is that if I have a friend who wants to be a part of the community, they will either reach out to me or they will reach out directly to LBB. That, I saw my friends doing some really cool stuff. Can you let me know how this is done? I also would like to do it. And then LBB would be like, yeah, please come join. All you have to do is post and we'll invite you for our next event. I'm going to save your data. Simple. Community starts running on auto, which is that now that your incentive has been created and you are being able to showcase the great work that you're doing, be it via events, be it via experiences, be it via outings, be it via workshops. Once people start posting about you, their communities start taking notice of you. They start joining you into their communities, into your communities, and then things move on auto. All you have to do is ensure that your incentive is spot on, and everything else falls into place. We can go to the next slide, Swati. Yeah. We've understood how to find the right people for the community. We've understood how to retain the community. We've understood how to create incentives for your community. We've understood the complexities of a community and how not to chase influencers blindly, but find the right tonality. Let's come to the next important thing, which a lot of people talk about all the time. It's great that we are building a community, but how do we make money from this? How do we monetize a community? And is this something that is ever going to build me money, get me money or not? So, well, I'm actually the right person to talk about this because I've actually built a career out of this now, and I'm making money surely through community. So I'm going to give you a lot of ideas on how that happens. The first example, the first solution is brand alliances. Then we have workshops and virtual events. We have account management. This can be a little confusing, so please ask me questions in case you have any doubts. And the last is paid memberships. Paid memberships is something that I personally would never do for my community, or I might, I don't know if my mind changes sometime in the future, but paid memberships is very actively used by multiple communities in order to keep the money coming in. So let's throw light on each of these. We can move to the next slide, Swati. Okay. So here we have Wheat and Limeroad. This is an example of one of my first few brand alliances I did when I was working with Limeroad.com. So my job was majorly to take care of their to take care of their community. They had a really big community of women who were posting looks on LimeRoad's platform. When I say looks, what I mean is that there was this feature via which you could pick your favorite products and create a look. Like if I'm a hippie, have more of a gypsy soul, then I can make a gypsy look on LimeRoad by selecting products that are in that category. Now, Veet, which everyone knows, Veet's a hair removal brand. Veet had just brought Shraddha Kapoor on board as their brand ambassador. And Veet wanted to do an activation with LimeRoad. They said, listen, we want your community to create looks, Veet looks, because they were running a summer campaign called Summer Ready Looks with Veet. Get summer ready with Veet, right? And right in the beginning of summer. So they said we want summer-ready looks for Veet on LimeRoad. So we created a template for them. So this is an example, the screenshot that you can see where we have Shraddha Kapoor's pictures in the back. And there is a look that has been created by one of our community members. We just want people to create multiple looks about Veet. That is it. That was their agenda. So of this, 200 women on the community created multiple looks for Veet, and we managed to get them crazy impressions on LimeRoad. Over 2 million impressions came from this campaign. What Veet did is that they gave 200 Bluetooth speakers to all the women who created those looks. And they sent the top 10 looks to Bali with Shraddha Kapoor. Now, that's a great add-on, right? 10 people going to Bali for a vacation with Shraddha Kapoor was fantastic. Everyone's getting a Bluetooth speaker, which is not exactly a cheap Bluetooth speaker. They got JBL Bluetooth speakers, which were for about 2,000 per speaker in the year 2016. So that was a decent amount. And the best thing that happened with LimeRoad was that LimeRoad got featured on Veet's TVC as their style partner. What also happened is that LimeRoad was given a discount coupon on about 3 lakh of their packets or on their products. So people who are buying Veet could also get a discount shopping on LimeRoad for about 20%. To be featured on a TVC, we would have otherwise have had to spend about 3 lakhs or to be on their boxes to go offline. So this basically was community not technically not getting us money, but saving us a lot of money, getting us things for free. 3 lakh worth of inventory just out of being on community. So this is one example. Now, another example of how brand alliances work beautifully, and this is exactly what I am doing right now, is, for example, we are doing an event on the 15th of September, which is in association with 35 community members, all ladies. The concept of the event is that we want to do an event which is very open about sexual wellness. We want women to get over imposter syndrome. We want them to get over body image issues, right? So we've created a beautiful concept where we are bringing a mental wellness brand, a sexual wellness brand, a very badass beer brand called Medusa on board. And we are getting these women together to talk about things that they were told as children, which they do not agree with, that they had to unlearn. For example, a lot of women grew up not liking their bodies because of societal standards. For a lot of women, their mom must have told them at some point that your complexion is not right or that your jawline is not perfect. So they still live with that, right? And that deals them into sexual problems as well. They don't feel comfortable in bed. They are not comfortable in front of their partners, which is why the sexual wellness brand is coming in picture. Now, how we are operating here is that we are getting multiple brands who are experts in their areas of work together to host an event with us. What we are doing is we are bringing the community and we are setting the space. We are bringing the space for the event. What the brands, and we are obviously creating the concept, the brands are doing sessions. So they pay us to build this concept and to get the community that's going to be doing the talking about them via reels. Right. So later, what these women are going to do is they're going to do full-fledged reels on. I went to this event that was organized by Brand Fueler, where Sassiest came on board and talked about sexual wellness, opened our minds about. And these events, these sessions don't happen with just anyone. They happen with experts, meaning Sassiest is bringing a sex psychologist. The mental wellness brand is also bringing a psychologist. Medusa is bringing its peers because Medusa is basically a rebel woman's peer, right? So the concept of the event is to forget whatever it is that you have learned in life that is stopping you from achieving your maximum potential and enjoy. That's basically how the event rolls. right? So this is another example of brand alliances where Medusa, Sassiest, and Amaha Health, which is a mental wellness brand, pay us to bring our communities and then to get them to create content. Are there any questions? Is that clear? No? Okay, awesome. We can move to the next slide. Yes. Yes, here's another example of an alliance where We Care is a brand. While I was handling Windmills community, We Care was a very small brand that used to make plushies and blankets for children. And one of my community members talked about We Care. They did a recommendation for We Care, and We Care took notice. They noticed that they had been featured on Windmill. So they reached out to us and they said, listen, why don't you get more of your community members to talk about We Care? It'll be great marketing for us. And we said, fine. So then We Care sent its products to our community. Our community created content for them. They managed a 70,000 viewership only out of 5 community members posting about them on Instagram. And the next time that We Care came on board, they paid us. So the first time they did it only on barter, said we want to see how this impacts us. And second time that they came on board, they gave us a 50K for 5 community members. So each community member, a 10K was the split, but we made the money. So that's how your brand alliances work and how community can help you actually make money or save money in certain cases. Let's go to the next slide, Swati. Another very important and interesting is workshop and events. Very simple. You find community members, you have community members who are excellent at something. For example, I have multiple artists on my community. So I get my community members to spearhead workshops for me or events for me, where everyone else pays us to attend that workshop. So this is very, very simple. It's as simple as that we're doing a workshop, please come on paid basis, pay us, and you will get a chance of learning from an expert. So for this, however, the point is that you have to be in a creative industry or you have to have community members who are actually talented. For example, in our case, we had people the likes of Anuradha and Shiki who were experts and were professionals in a creative way of work. So this is something that works very well if you're working in a creative space. It could also be home chefs. So if you have 3 or 4 home chefs in your community, you could do a cooking workshop that's led by them, and they are the ones who make a certain commission out of whatever money you're making by hosting their workshop. We can go to the next one. Account management. This can get a little complicated, so please let me know if you are confused with anything. Account management is very simple. Let's just say I have multiple members on my community whom I feel have the potential of becoming really big influencers on my community. So I start managing their account on my community, which is that any partnerships that will come to you will come via me. I will get you more partnerships and I will ensure that you become popular. I will give you more visibility. So this is exactly what Quora did with Sean Kernel. They realized that he has the potential. So if there's any brand who would come on Quora and say that, listen, I want Sean Kernel to do a post or to do a recommendation about us and plug us into one of his answers, Quora would manage all of Sean Kernel's activations. And Quora would make money from it and Sean Kernel will also make money from it. But the barter here is that Quora makes money and Sean Kernel gives Sean Kernel visibility. That you give me a part of whatever we are making from this, I will increase your visibility and I will make sure that you continue to be an influencer, you get bigger and bigger on Quora. So this is, I hope this was clear. Is there any confusion? Anybody? I don't think so. I think I was very clear with this one this time. So it's very simple. Yeah. It's very simple. You have someone whom you know can be a big influencer. You want them to stick to your platform, so you manage their entire account. I think Rashmi just raised her hand. Please tell me, Rashmi.
Are there any legal implications to having people on board who at one point would be in your community and be an influencer, but may be approached by other competitive brands?
Yes, we do have contracts in place for all of this, that any activation that you do will be through us. There are also loopholes in that contract. That doesn't necessarily have to mean that all the work that you do will come through us. For example, with my community, I don't do like an exclusively with me clause because I don't want them to feel tied up. Like I said, everything in my community is allowing people personal space and freedom to do things. But there are people who have contracts in place where they make it a point that everything that you do will be done with us over the next span of the next 6 months or a year or how many ever years that you want it to be for, where there are clauses, for example, like if there is an approach from somewhere else, you have to let me know so that I take it over and then I do your bargaining. So yes, there are contracts in place for this. Legal implications, of course, if it's contractual, there will be legal implications as well if people don't follow. But that is a very, very rare case where contracts are breached.
Sure. Thanks.
Yes. Next slide, please, Swati. Okay. Now, if here anybody is interested in starting community building as a source of income, and if you want to make money from it, this is just a checklist of things that I did in order for me to get someplace with community. And while I was consulting, when I moved out of a full-time role, one is, how do you find your client? I may be excellent with community, but I am terrible with technology. I literally have my laptop as well as my phone on right now because my speaker on my laptop is not working and my phone is just better equipped to handle sounds. So that is not my skill. Knowing that what isn't your skill is also a skill. Not entering any space which does not interest you or does not make you happy makes no sense. So you need to understand, first thing is that you need to understand what is the kind of brands that suit your expertise, where you can actually build communities. Example, which audience can you cater to? Where does your core skill lie, right? What does the brand need in your opinion? So the way in which I do this is I first make a list of brands that I feel that make sense to me and I would do a great job of. Once I've done that, I go through their pages, their Instagram, their website, their LinkedIn, their network, everything, and then think of what I feel they're missing from a community standpoint. Then I create like a really cool idea for them and pitch it to them. Like, this is what we want to do. I think we'll be able to do a great job. Here's a few things that I've done for other brands. Why don't you speak to me and we'll figure a way of working together. Approach people directly on LinkedIn. This is one way of doing it, but I have to add to this. This also is becoming a failed approach now because it's become everyone's approach now to reach out on LinkedIn, but there are multiple sales platforms like Lucia or Sales IQ where you can get direct contacts. Nothing works better than cold calling. And that also will fail if your cold calling is poor. So knowing your pitch, speaking it right, and going with an idea is always better instead of going lost and just letting the person know that you've called because you're trying to make a sale, right? So approach people directly on LinkedIn, network. Try to build network. So your community building doesn't just mean community building for the people on your community. It means the brands that you work with. It means the venues that you work with, everything. You have to be a community builder through and through. Otherwise, things fall flat. Upskill. Like I said, I am constantly upskilling, which is why I told you that LinkedIn is now failing. So you have platforms like Lucia and Sales IQ. The reason I know that is because I always keep upskilling. I keep seeing what other people are doing. Because unless and until, if you believe that you've achieved all your knowledge today, there will be no growth and there is no way in which you will be able to sustain the changing of times. So upskilling is super, super important. You will have to see what the world is doing. You will have to see that this is something that is not working or it does not seem like it has a foresight for the next couple of months. So you've got to stop doing that, or you have to come with a solution which you know will be more sustainable a few months or a few years from now. That is important. So while I might be a 33-year-old, I remember that as a 23-year-old, I knew everything very well because I was always on my phone, and that was what 23-year-olds were doing at that point. But now I might not be doing things that other young people are doing. So it is important that I am keeping myself aware of what is going on with the Gen Z and what is the kind of stuff that they are watching, because that way I will be able to build better brands or come out with better ideas. Yeah. So never negate something just because it's new and it's for the younger people doesn't mean it's dumb and stupid. It can still be interesting. It can still make you a business. Network, like I said, super, super important. You should never approach someone from the perspective of making a sale. You should approach a person from the perspective of building a relationship. I have worked with Herky 4 or 5 times since I connected with Neha in the year 2021 or 2. Right? Because the first call that we did was not from the perspective of, let's do a project together. It was like, we can actually come handy to each other in multiple places. So you can let me know if there's something in this nature that you want to do, and we'll put something together. So that should be your idea. Make connections, network with people so that they remember you. And then when they think of, okay, I wanted to do this, I think that person would make sense for this, and they reach out to you again. So that's important. Set a realistic number of brands to work with. If you want to freelance, don't go ham and work with 10 brands. Sometimes 2 brands is more than enough, and that's enough load for you to manage, because communities are labor intensive work, especially if your approach is the way it is with me, which is that I do things with on a very personal level. I speak to people, I interact with people, I make sure that they know my name and they know my face. So don't go ham with taking up too many projects. Understand your understand your bandwidth and then take up projects. After some time of freelancing, your older clients will come back to you. That happens when you're able to do a good job. Just like I have worked so much with Herky, there is a brand called Azza that I work with almost every year. So they keep working together for every time that they want to do a community activation. There is Windmill Live every year when their Windmill Fest is happening. We handle their influencer marketing. So there are multiple such brands that have come back. So once you've set your foot right in freelance or in building your own business, eventually your networking is going to get you more work, and that's going to take you places. Every once in a while, bring more to the table than offered. I always say this, promise less, deliver more, because that's what's going to take the cake for you. The reason people come back to work with us is primarily because we never overcome it, but we always over deliver. So you should just always go by that funda in life, that when you over deliver and you put yourself out there more, you come across as someone who's working not only from the perspective of making easy money, but from the perspective of building the right relationships, and will always be relied on to do a good job of whichever brand you end up working with. So this is another important agenda that you should keep in mind when you are trying to work for yourself. Yes, let's go on to the next one. I think we're almost done. Yeah, very important. This is my thumb rule. I've always followed it. If you are up for building a community for your brand, always approach with the needs and requirements of your community first, of your community members first. Everything else will follow. Alliances will follow, influencers will follow, money will follow. What I mean by that is that you just keep your community happy. Like I said, if your retention is good, if your product is good, your brands will come back to you. Your community members will stick to you. They will bring more community members into the ecosystem. Money will automatically come, and influencers, the people who otherwise charge you, right? Once they see that your community is hustling and bustling, they will come and offer work for free. So this has happened all the time. Whenever there's been an influencer who said, no, I don't work for free, we've told them we don't pay. And then 2 months down, after doing a great job with the community, the influencer's taken notice of us and come back and said, I want to be a part of this community. What is the procedure? So this is what you should understand and focus on when you're building communities. I think that is about it. We're heading to the last slide. Any questions, guys? Now's the right time. Please feel free to ask.
Ma'am, as a influencer, how can we build a community, or how to approach a brand's community?
As an influencer?
Yeah.
See, that also depends on how many followers you have. If you are a nano influencer, or a micro or a macro influencer, if you've just started out and you have, let's say, about 2,000, 3,000 followers, the best way to build your community, not even 2,000, let's just say you don't have followers and you want to become an influencer first. The one thing to do is to stay authentic and to create content which is relatable. The minute you start advertising things and start taking money from brands to create content, your followers will know that you're doing that, and your follower range will go down. Your followers will not care, and you will not make more followers. Even if I know a lot of influencers who are sitting at like a 6,000 followers, who started 2 years ago and are still at a 6,000 followers, but the kind of work that they are doing and the kind of money that they are making is a lot more than influencers with 150K followers. Because brands are also approaching people who are staying authentic to their content, right? So these 6,000, 7,000 follower influencers, they are not taking money unless they genuinely like the brand. So brands are sending them products first, and then they are deciding whether, okay, fine, is this something that I want to talk about? Does it fit my tonality? Is this something my followers will benefit from? Only then I will go and post. So the best way of keeping yourself, of growing your community, is by staying authentic and speaking the language that your community understands. If you are going to very quickly land yourself into doing paid promotions, very soon you will only be paying to get followers. You will not be getting followers authentically. And your reach also will go down. Instagram has also become very smart. The algorithm has changed. So they're not going to showcase your content to a lot of people. Right? A lot of people with a lot of reach now, they are constantly paying to increase their reach, because while they have a lot of followers, Instagram is limiting the number of people who see their content because it's not authentic anymore. So the one way to actually do well as an influencer is, like I said, don't do this. It needs to go in a very steady slope, right? Only then you will be able to get somewhere. It has to be very steady and very gradual. So keep yourself authentic, take your time, and let your follower base will grow organically. That's one thing that you should do as an influencer. Yes, please tell me, Rashmi.
Ma'am, how do we decide what are the best platforms to get these people within the communities?
See, first and foremost, I believe that a community does not really require a Hyphanda platform. Right? We don't have a platform either. I've been running Brand Fueler for some time now. I was in LBB for 4 years. I started community building when I was 22. So that was with Roposo. And there are multiple people who've stuck around with me, despite the fact that my platform has changed constantly. So I was with Roposo first, then I was with LimeRoad, then I was with LBB. Now I'm handling Brand Fueler. Before this, I was doing consultants. But multiple people have still stuck around and are on my community even today. So for building a community, number one is that you have to make sure that you're building the right relationships with your community members, that you are doing the right talking with them. The second is something as simple as WhatsApp community works. And even then, the most successful platform is meeting offline, is conducting offline events where you get a chance of interacting with each other. I'm pretty sure you're all on multiple WhatsApp groups. On WhatsApp groups, on platforms, there are families, there are so many relatives that are together on groups, and even there are people who don't talk at all. And there'll be just 4 or 5 people who constantly talk. There are some groups that have been on mute since forever, right? Nobody talks anymore. So platforms se zyada, what matters is the intent of your community. And I believe that communities thrive and sustain when there is physical meetups. So find avenues where you can get your community together. Find avenues where they can interact with each other. That is going to help you fly. Otherwise, there are 100 platforms. You can try any. In my opinion, just an online platform is never enough to sustain a community. It is a very labor-intensive and physical meeting-derived experience. So that is what is required, in my opinion, for communities.
Sure, thank you.
Yeah. Anyone else, guys? Okay, I think we are through. Everyone's asked questions. Yeah. So, Avneet, I think all yours.
Thank you, Megha. I was right here in the session, though. I think we have covered quite a bit today, and major part of content, of course, has been taken care of. Okay,
Yeah.
ladies. So we will be meeting Megha again tomorrow at the same time, 11 a.m. And the next session is community moderations and discussions, which is yet another topic and a pretty interesting one. So let's catch up again tomorrow and begin with the new topic again.
Thank
Okay,
you so
Megha,
much.
we'll take your leave. Thank you very much. And